Hey guys, I hope all is well. Thank you for joining me for this Truth Talk episode. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how Scientology became the most sinister cult in the world. But before we begin, I just wanted to remind you guys to subscribe to my second channel, Truth Network. We just dropped a new episode over there yesterday, and plenty of more to come. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my second channel, Truth Network. You can find the channel tagged in the description of this video or on my channel page. Thank you all. Now let's get right into it. The Church of Scientology is one of the biggest New Age religious movements in the last 70 years. The organization started all the way back in 1953 in the state of New Jersey as a small group made by L. Ron Hubbard, his wife Mary Sue, and another man named John Galusha. The organization would eventually grow to be the biggest New Age religious movement in the world. The church claims to have over 5.5 million members in the US alone, with several Scientology centers all over the US and the world. With an impressive list of A-list celebrities a part of the church, recruiting members was an easy task. Chances are you have heard of the Church of Scientology, as throughout its existence, the mysterious organization has been shrouded in controversy. When I was still living in New York, I used to actually deliver food to a Scientology building that was located in Harlem, New York. Back then, I felt that there was something off about the church and its members, but I didn't know exactly what it was. I'm pretty sure many of you watching this video now have no idea what the Church of Scientology even is. You know it's a strange group, but you have no idea what they do or what they believe in. I have done a deep dive into the organization, specifically its founder L. Ron Hubbard, and what the church truly believes in. And I have discovered the sinister truth the organization hides from the world. By the end of this video, you will see exactly why the Church of Scientology is the most sinister cult in the world. Like I already mentioned, the Church of Scientology was started by Lafayette Ronald Hubbard, otherwise known as L. Ron Hubbard. L. Ron was born March 13, 1911, into a military family. He had a pretty normal military child upbringing, as he often moved around with his father. After Hubbard finished college in 1934, he would end up becoming a semi-successful fiction writer for Pulp Fiction magazines. From his start until 1940, he would produce hundreds of short stories and novels that got him by financially at the time. At this point, L. Ron was still just a normal guy, but that wouldn't be the case for long. After his writing career ended in 1941, Hubbard would briefly serve in the Navy, but would eventually be discharged after he faked a stomach and eye condition to avoid being sent to war. When he left the military, he would befriend a man who influenced everything he would go on to do. In the mid-1940s, L. Ron became close friends with Jack Parsons, who was now considered the father of modern rocketry. Jack Parsons at the time was a devout follower of the English occultist Aleister Crowley. Jack had even been handpicked by Crowley, who gave him permissions to start his own OTO lodge in his home. L. Ron ended up meeting Jack Parsons and decided to move into his mansion and began indulging in occult teachings. Before this, Hubbard had some prior knowledge about occult magic, as his eldest son said he had read the Book of the Law when he was only 16. An author by the name of John Attic reports that Hubbard joined the Rosicrucian order called the Ancient and Mystic Order of Rosicrucians in 1940, completing the first two neophyte degrees. Jack Parsons actually sent a letter over to Aleister Crowley informing him about L. Ron wanting to join the lodge. In the letter, Jack Parsons stated, "Most beloved father, about 3 months ago, I met Captain L. Ron Hubbard, a writer and explorer of whom I have known for some time. He is a gentleman, he has red hair and green eyes, is honest and intelligent, and we have become great friends. He moved in with me about 2 months ago. Although Betty and I are still friendly, she has transferred her sexual affections to him. Although Ron has no formal training in magic, he has an extraordinary amount of experience and understanding in the field. From some of his experiences, I deduce he is in direct touch with his guardian angel. He describes his angel as a beautiful winged woman with red hair, who he calls the Empress, and who has guided him through his life and saved him many times. Essentially, he says because of some danger, she has called the Archangel Michael to guard us. Last night, after invoking, I called them in, and he described ISIS on the left and a faint figure of past partly mistaken operations on the right, in a rosewood box with a string of green beads, a string of pearls with a black cross suspended in their rows. He is the most anemic person I have ever met and is in complete accord with our own principles. He is also interested in establishing the new Aeon, but for cognate reasons. I have not introduced them to the lodge. We are pooling our resources in a partnership that would act as a limited company to control our business ventures. I think I have made a great gain, and as Betty and I are the best of friends, there is a little loss. I cared for her deeply, but I have no desire to control her emotions, and I hope, control my own. I need a magical partner. I have many experiments in mind. The next time I tie up with a woman, it will be on my own terms. This letter was indeed interesting and revealing, as Jack Parsons claimed Hubbard was the most thelemic person he has ever met. He implied that Hubbard was somehow able to see the Egyptian god Isis that he had invoked during a ritual. Parsons told Crowley that even though he had no formal training in magic, he was very knowledgeable. Parsons taught Hubbard the practices and rituals that he used to eventually create the Church of Scientology. While L. Ron was living with Jack Parsons, he routinely participated in occult rituals, mostly practicing sex magic rituals with Jack. While living with Parsons, L. Ron and Parsons would attempt to perform the Babylon working ritual with each other, a sex ritual that was intended to invoke the ancient goddess Babylon, or otherwise known as the Scarlet Woman, into a vessel. For the ritual, Parsons and Hubbard constructed an altar, and Hubbard acted as the high priest during a series of ceremonies in which Parsons and a girl shared relations. L. Ron was given the title of high priest for the workings. Parsons, at this stage, was completely under Hubbard's domination. The ritual lasted 4 days. Even though I have literally found a play-by-play of the ritual, I will not be discussing it here, as I don't want to make any of you uncomfortable, but you guys can read it in this article. According to Jack Parsons, the ritual worked, as he stated he was struck by something invisible, and a candle was knocked out of his hand, even claiming to see a brownish yellow light come through the doorway. Right after the rituals were complete, Jack Parsons would go on to meet a woman named Marjorie Cameron, who showed up to his home. Parsons instantly felt that Marjorie was the elemental that he and Hubbard had summoned through the ritual. Jack would begin a relationship with Marjorie and went on to the next stage of the ritual, conceiving a child through a sex magic ritual in order to birth the moon child, or the Antichrist. According to Parsons, even though Marjorie didn't have the child, he proclaimed that the ritual was successful, claiming the ritual worked and summoned the moon child. He started to refer to Marjorie as the Scarlet Woman from then on. This is especially interesting when we see that Doja Cat is now referring to herself as Scarlet. I know this is connected, and I wonder if Marjorie is somehow related to Doja Cat or in some way connected to her mother. Marjorie even created a sex cult called Moonchild in California, where she focused on creating mixed-race children she called Moon Children. Doja Cat herself is from California, but I couldn't find a connection quite yet. I would keep looking into this. While L. Ron was practicing all these rituals, he wrote a document he called Affirmations, in which he called his magic powerful and spoke about his love for Aleister Crowley. It's obvious that while he was in the Parsons mansion, he learned the basis to what would become Scientology. After he learned what he needed, not only did he leave Jack Parsons behind, but he took his girlfriend and scammed him out of all his money. Jack Parsons literally had to sell his mansion after L. Ron tricked him into investing his money into a yacht business idea he created. Parsons invested all his life savings into this business idea. When he was scammed, he was forced to sell off his mansion to get by. In the 1950s, after L. Ron left Parsons, he began telling people that he had discovered a way to make supermen. He started making claims that there existed a superhuman condition called the clear. He claimed people in that state would have perfectly functioning minds with an improved IQ and photographic memory. The clear would be cured of physical elements ranging from poor eyesight to the common cold, which Hubbard claimed were all purely psychosomatic. Through Dianetics, Hubbard claimed that most illnesses were psychosomatic and caused by memories and traumatic events, including arthritis, allergies, asthma, coronary difficulties, eye troubles, ulcers, and even migraine headaches. He further claimed that Dianetic therapy could treat those illnesses and also improve cancer and diabetes. On May 9, 1950, Hubbard released Dianetics, the modern science of mental health. He would end up starting the Hubbard Dianetics Research Foundation, which he routinely used the funds for his personal life instead of his magical research. The occult ties behind Dianetics was the fact that he created it off the teachings of Dianism, which he learned while he was with Parsons. Dianism was focused on sex magic rituals dedicated to the Roman goddess Diana. Dianism was taught by Crowley, and it's where L. Ron would pick up on it. He created Dianetics after the goddess Diana. He was so obsessed with Diana that he would eventually name a ship he owned Diana, and even named his daughter Diana as well. At this point, Elron was achieving massive success with Dianetics, but it wouldn't last forever, as he lost credibility when during a demonstration, he failed to prove his teachings were successful. Even though it would go on to fail, Dianetics would eventually become the foundation for his next idea, which was no other than the Church of Scientology. Elron was back with a new revelation, a way to turn everyday people into gods. Elron introduced Scientology and promised through his teachings that you had a chance to achieve godlike powers in a state he called operating thethan. According to Elron, operating thethan is a state of complete spiritual freedom in which one is a willing and knowing cause over life through matter, energy, space, and time. Nowadays, the Church of Scientology offers 8 levels of operating thethan, with each level costing thousands of dollars to achieve. The occult teachings he learned from Jack Parsons and Aleister Crowley were all over this new religion he created. The symbol he chose for the church, which was this cross, was oddly similar to Aleister Crowley's OTO symbol. He also teaches the same principles as Thelema through his Scientology teachings. Elron told his followers through his teachings that they could become their own gods, which was the exact same philosophy Aleister Crowley taught through OTO and Thelema. The basis of what the Church of Scientology teaches is that men are really extraterrestrial immortal gods that keep on reincarnating when they die. He claims that these gods came together to create the earth. He also claimed that after completing their mission on earth, they would transcend into their true forms and stop reincarnating. It's not hard to see that the church is connected directly to Crowley's Thelema. Even Elron's oldest son eventually confirmed this. Lafayette Hubbard Jr., the eldest son of Elron, revealed that his father was indeed an occultist. In 1959, Lafayette Jr. left the Church of Scientology and changed his name to Ronald D. Wolfe. In the 1980s, D. Wolfe gave a series of sworn statements and interviews detailing his father's occult history. D. Wolfe revealed that his father had been deeply involved in the occult and black magic. According to D. Wolfe, Aleister Crowley's death in 1947 was a pivotal event that led Hubbard to take over the mantle of the beast. De Wolfe also claimed that black magic is the inner core of Scientology, stating that his father did not worship Satan. He thought he was Satan. D. Wolfe would eventually do an interview where he tried to warn the world that his father was connected to Aleister Crowley. He stated that his father used what he learned from the occult to create the Church of Scientology.
When you say black magic, what are you talking about? Some of the things that I read in the stack of material, it sounds just absolutely unbelievable. What are you talking about when you say this?
Well, the funny thing is that the actual truth is about as far out as Scientology itself. Really, the basis of Scientology, which is rather hidden and covered over, is the occult, the deep involvement with satanic powers that he felt that he was deeply involved with a British black magician called Aleister Crowley, and through putting himself in deep hypnotic trance and the use of drugs on himself, he wanted to become the most powerful being in the
As
world.
you heard for yourself, D. Wolfe revealed his father was an occultist into black magic. We can also see how the host of the show was trying her best to make him look crazy, but we know exactly why. The media has always hidden the occult from the masses. The church was heavily influenced by the Book of the Law. In the Book of the Law, Crowley wrote, "The whole and sole object of all true magical training is to become free from every kind of limitation." Hubbard repurposed this for his movement, teaching that our whole activity tends to make an individual completely independent of any type of limitation. During one of his lectures, Elron even called himself the Prince of Darkness, but it was looked at as a joke. The most revealing of all was the truth about operating thethan level 8, which was considered the highest achievable level in the Church of Scientology. Hubbard claimed that the document revealing the truth about OT8 should only be revealed after his passing. These documents were not only revealing but disturbing, and said all we needed to know about Elron. In the documents, Hubbard mentions the Book of Revelations and his prophecy of a time when an arch enemy of Christ, referred to as the Antichrist, will reign. According to Hubbard, the Antichrist represents the forces of Lucifer. Hubbard writes, "My mission could be said to fulfill the biblical promise represented by this brief Antichrist period." In the document, Hubbard also teaches that the historic Jesus was not nearly the sainted figure he has been made out to be. He made the blasphemous claims of Jesus being a lover of young boys and men. He also claimed that Jesus had uncontrollable bursts of temper and hatred. This was the truth about the Church of Scientology. It was a church created to represent the Antichrist that L. Ron thought to be connected to. He said those blasphemous things about Jesus Christ that shows he was a servant of Lucifer. These documents were initially denied by the Church of Scientology, but Georgia White, a public Scientologist who had received OT8 in the summer of 1988, says the document is 100% authentic. This is what the church is truly about. The church that L. Ron created eventually turned into a mega corporation, as L. Ron literally franchised his church to anyone who had the money to create one. L. Ron charged 10% of the income each church made. This was a massive success for him, who turned his occult teachings into a billion-dollar organization worth $1.5 billion. L. Ron Hubbard would eventually pass away January 24, 1986, and David Miscavige took over as the leader of the church and still remains to this day. Even though David doesn't seem to be as disturbing as L. Ron, he has his controversies as well, specifically with his wife. David is married to Shelly Miscavige, and she married him in 1982, and they rose together in the Church of Scientology as members of an elite group called the Commodore's Messenger Organization. She was rumored to have played a large role in the church alongside David until 2006. It is rumored online that by 2007, Shelly wanted to leave the church and her husband, but wasn't allowed to. Instead, she was allegedly taken out or held captive by the church so that she wouldn't expose the secrets of the church or her husband. The last time she was ever seen by the public was all the way back in 2007. 6 years later, the actress Leah Remini left the church in 2013 and filed a missing persons report with the Los Angeles Police Department. However, after an investigation, the LAPD announced that they had found her to be alive and safe and were not pursuing the case. Leah claimed that the police didn't want to give her any real answers and didn't confirm that they themselves had spoken to her in person. To this day, Shelly remains missing, even though the church claims she is safe, just living a quote-unquote private life. It's obvious to me something was done to Shelly, and those who investigated were probably paid off to leave the situation alone. The church has shown similar behavior to this many times over, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if they eventually go down for this. If you saw my video on Ashton Kutcher, then you should already know Danny Masterson was a part of the Church of Scientology his whole life, being raised in the organization. He was recently convicted for R-wording 2 women who were also a part of the Church of Scientology. These women claimed that they weren't allowed to speak out about what Danny Masterson did to them because the church prevented them from doing so. If you want to know more about this situation, just go check out this Ashton Kutcher video I did after this one. Danny Masterson isn't the only Hollywood actor a part of the Church of Scientology, as the church has prominent members like Tom Cruise, Jason Lee, Katie Holmes, John Travolta, Dougie Fresh, alongside many other big names. Will Smith throughout the years has been connected to the church, even though he denies membership. Will Smith actually recently got busted for creating a private school called New Village Leadership Academy, where it was discovered to be connected to the Church of Scientology. The church uses celebrities as walking billboards, hoping to gather more and more members off the clout of the celebrities, using these celebrities to get the masses to join the Antichrist organization. The church is known to completely take over the lives of those who join. Not only do members have to pay thousands of dollars to be a part of the organization, they also have to submit to the leaders of the church they join. If the church tells them to discommunicate with a friend or a family member, they must do so. It was even alleged that those who tried to leave the organization were punished physically by those in the church. This is the sinister truth the church hides behind all its celebrities and money. Their fancy churches are just lodges where rituals are done alongside of many other evils. This is what L. Ron Hubbard created all those years ago. But are you surprised when he learned from the beast himself, Aleister Crowley? Well, that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.